Screen time, it's an enduring issue, and in the Coulson family with 6 daughters, oh my goodness, do we go over this a lot or what? Today on the Happy Families podcast, I'll Do Better Tomorrow, we tackle screen time in a way that we never have before because things have erupted in a way that they never have before. G'day, welcome to the Happy Families podcast, real parenting solutions every day. This is Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. We are Justin and Kylie Coulson. Before we talk about I'll Do Better Tomorrow and the things we've learned about parenting this week and our adventures with the kids, I've got the best, the biggest, the most exciting 2025 announcement, and I'm just so excited about it. Here we go.
Our kids are growing up in a world we never imagined.
Take a breath. This is confronting content.
Young people, we say that we've got it under control. We don't.
Over 4 powerful nights of event television.
In an increasingly online world, there are so many risks that are emerging.
8 Aussie families tackle the biggest challenges.
This is juicy. No one knows.
It was luring her in.
4 nights, 4 major issues.
Screen time, peer pressure, body image, and mental health.
1 chance to get it right.
We should be very careful not to feminise our males.
Oh.
No.
Here we go.
The conversation all of Australia
Those 2 words, support seeking, save lives.
must have.
We're diving into the biggest parenting minefields yet.
New parental guidance. Monday, June 30 on 9.
I'm so excited about this.
That's a pretty awesome promo.
I'm so excited. So if you missed the details, the news, it's coming up Monday, June 30 on Channel 9, Parental Guidance Season 3. It's official. We can talk about it. We are so stoked for it. And we hope that you'll join us and watch it. We'll be talking about it right through the entire series. So the episodes will drop on a Monday night, and then you and I are going to pull them apart on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of that week. So much good stuff. And I may have just received a preview episode for episode 1.
Oh, I can't wait.
Okay. All right. Let's let's move on. I'll Do Better Tomorrow, Kylie. This is the bit where we talk about the stuff that we've learned and the stuff we've been challenged by so that we can be more intentional as parents moving into the weekend and into a new week. Do you want to go first or should I?
Well, no, actually, I wanted to share a quick little anecdote that happened the other day around the dinner table. One of our girls brought a friend home to share a meal with us the other night. And as we were talking, the podcast came up and she looked at us and she said, "What's your podcast about?" And in unison, all of the kids said, "Emily." Not parenting.
It's not a parenting podcast. It's
Emily.
Well, today's podcast is not about Emily. For those of you who are new to the pod, Emily's our youngest
Well,
child.
we're changing it up today, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to talk about our child.
No, we're not.
No?
You can't say that.
Okay, we're going to talk about one of our children who is not Emily. So here's the deal. We have been talking about screens in our home for a long time, and specifically we've been pointing out that things aren't great. Like, there are some people who can use screens and they are barely affected by them. There are some people who use screens and have really significant impacts, probably because of a handful of other things that could be going on in their lives. And one of our kids has been really struggling from a mental health perspective and a social perspective and a physical health perspective. I mean, kind of from all the perspectives. And consistently we've been saying, let's help you to be healthy. Let's help you to make wise choices, safe choices, healthy choices. And let's help you to get screens out of your life a little bit because we know that this is going to make a difference. It's going to have an impact. And she understands what we're saying, but there's no response. There's no change in behavior. And over the last little while, I think it's fair to say that things have been getting increasingly challenging for her and her mental health has really plummeted. This is not the only issue, but I know that it's a predictor. I know it's one of the central issues. And so a couple of weeks ago, I sat down and I said, no matter how many times we've talked, there has been no corresponding change in behavior. So you don't want me to do this. I know you're going to be upset about it, but as your dad and as the person with the prefrontal cortex that is functioning and the one who's watching it happen and seeing your life become more challenging and also the remainder of your relationships, like in our home, becoming more challenging, I'm going to do something that neither you nor I want, and that is I am going to take the phone away from you just for a short while. I described to her that study that we talked about just last week on the Doctor's Desk episode, where researchers blocked internet access on smartphones for a couple of weeks and people's well-being increased. And I said, we're just going to do 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks without a smartphone. And we've got other options for you if you want them, so you can still stay in touch with people and you can still use your laptop, but we're just going to minimize your access to a smartphone and internet access on that device. It would be an understatement to say that things were challenging over the next couple of days. For 2 or 3 days, it was really difficult. Low mood, followed by very high, very unpleasant mood. Lots of big swings, but none of it really good. It was just a really, really hard couple of days. And we were about 2 days in, and I was just thinking, this is why I always say to people, you've got to work with your kids, don't do things to them. But the whole way through, even when she was cranky, we were really calm, we were really patient, and we were saying, we know this is hard for you, and we know it doesn't seem fair, but we really believe that we're acting in your best interests, and we're here to talk to you at any point. So anyway, by about, 3 or 4 days in, I noticed a shift. And this is the thing that I really want to emphasize. We're not big on force. Force creates resistance. But with enough scaffolding, with enough support, with enough conversation around why sometimes we as parents are going to make decisions that the children may not agree with, the research and our experience certainly support the idea that the children are able to deal with and respond to these challenges and these issues in much more productive ways. I think I took the phone off her on Monday morning. Maybe it was Sunday night. I'm pretty sure it was Monday morning. And by Thursday, the shift was complete. By Thursday afternoon, I walked into the house and she was laughing her head off with her sisters. By Friday, we had a day of pure delight. By Saturday, it was just joy. That's the only word I can describe. And even on Sunday, fully a week in, I felt like we had a different daughter. And the most incredible thing of all to me was that somewhere around Saturday, I said, what are you noticing? And she said, not much. And I said, yeah, really? What are you actually noticing? No pride here. Let's actually talk about it. And she didn't really want to talk about it. I said, okay, well, here's the thing. I know that you're going to want a phone back eventually. You know that I'm looking for somewhere between 2 to 4 weeks to really push the reset button on this. But when you're ready to have a chat about what life looks like with a phone back in your life, let me know. No pressure. We can do it today, tomorrow. We can do it next week, just when you're ready. And the thing that was perhaps the most startling was that on Sunday afternoon, out of nowhere, she just wandered over and said, hey, can we have that chat? And I said, sure, so long as you understand that the phone's not coming back to you today. And she said, no, I know. And as a result of the conversation, we sat down, we pulled her phone out, we went through the apps. She just started deleting them. She said, I don't need TikTok anymore. I'm not going to have TikTok. I'm going to get rid of Snapchat. And we went through app by app by app. She deleted so many apps that are just unhelpful. And then I said, so what are the boundaries, the guidelines? What's the framework going to be by which you use your phone? How are we going to set this up moving forward? And Kylie, I didn't tell her anything. She just said, I am noticing that I'm better without it. I don't think that I need these social media platforms particularly, and I don't have any games anyway. And sure enough, we went through the whole phone, and she just made so many incredible decisions, so many wise decisions. I talked about limits, time limits, when she will and when she won't have access to the device. She even said this. She said, so with her school, she does 5 weeks of industry placement followed by 5 weeks of a learning block at school. She said, on placement, I really need the phone, Dad. But during learning block, you can actually have the phone. I don't need it. And life's actually kind of better without it. One thing after another, she just said everything that any parent could ever dream of. In fact, I think that she was a little bit more strict on herself than I probably would have been. But as she was saying it and explaining why she wanted to do the things she was doing, it just felt good. It felt right. And then she handed the phone back to me and she said, a week, 2 weeks, I don't really mind. I'm happy to go without it until the end of school term, but I'd really like to have it when I'm doing this activity and this activity during the holidays for these reasons. And I just thought, she's a different kid. She is a different kid. I keep on making a big deal about it on the podcast that screens are the great unhappiness machine, that they have been designed to addict our children and the extraordinary loss of human potential, the loss of relationships, the loss of well-being that they create is just catastrophic. I think that's criminal. And I've watched this wonderful kid come back into our lives in the most wonderful ways. So that is my I'll do better tomorrow. I don't like the forceful approach, and I don't think that it was, but certainly I did take control because we just weren't getting anywhere. But with the right support and scaffolding around it, you can still get great results. And sometimes as a parent, it's just necessary to step in.
You share the analogy in one of your books in relation to your kids swimming in the swimming pool and how, as parents, we actually are the boundary that holds the body of water. But when they're young, we keep them close to the edge. They want to be safe. They want to know that they've got a stronghold right there. And as they get older, we start to let them move to the middle where there isn't an edge to grab onto because they're starting to learn and grow and swim for themselves without us being right there. But they still need the boundary of the pool. And I love that because our teenagers need that boundary more than ever, and yet they're screaming to swim in the ocean because they think they've got it. They think they've got it all together. They think they know all the answers. They think that we're just being too protective of them. And what this situation has just again proven is that they desperately need the boundaries in place because they can't see what we can see firstly, and they can't moderate for themselves. And as the week has gone on, a couple of things have really stood out to me. The first thing is that as a parent, sometimes you have to play the bad guy. And in this instance, making a decision that went counter to everything she wanted made you the bad guy in that moment. But the way you did it was...
Just say it. Masterful. I nailed it.
I was going to say perfection. I was going to say perfection.
I didn't see that coming at all. I'm so sorry. I was being up myself, and then you've gone and proven that I should be. There we go. I got it right. Like it felt right.
Not only did it feel right, because of her behaviour, I was really wrestling with my own emotions around it all and was really struggling to be compassionate. I didn't interact with her, but in my own personal body, I was really wrestling.
I've got to jump in really quickly on that. Just the word compassion. I've talked about it on the pod before. The word compassion comes from two Latin words that I don't know how to say, but com and passion. Com is together in unity, like community, combination, common, communicate. That it's together, right? That's com. And passion is not actually what we think it is. Get excited about something. Passion is literally to suffer. So when you say you found it hard to be compassionate, what you're saying is you found it hard to step into her suffering and suffer with her.
Yeah, totally. Because she had been creating so much drama in our space.
Emotional earthquakes everywhere.
And I was over it.
Right.
And so I really let you take the lead on this one. And you asked me to come in and be a part of it. And the more I sat there, the more frustrated I got. And I was literally, I was just speechless. I actually can't put into words as I watched you not only sit in a place of a desire to understand where she was, but then I literally watched you suffer with her as she just fell apart in her desperation and need to not only be understood, but to have what she thought she needed. And throughout the next few days, as emotions continued to ramp in really challenging ways, I just watched you turn toward her time and time again. And so when we talk about being the bad guy is making hard choices, right? That's the essence of that choice. But the way we do it determines whether or not we're seen as the bad guy. And what's so crazy about this is that In every situation, you would be seen as the bad guy because you enforced something that she didn't want you to enforce. But she absolutely, hands down, knew that you knew that she was hurting and that you understood why she was hurting. And she actually turned towards you as well.
Yeah, I would actually go so far as to say that our relationship is closer now, because I haven't been saying, well, you just need to learn your lesson, or I've had enough and that's the consequence of you not doing as you were told. Rather, I've gone to her and held her when she's been upset and just said, I know, and it doesn't feel fair, and this is so hard, and I love you so much. I don't want to do this either, but here's what I'm seeing, and I'm your dad, and I've got to look after you. I've got to protect you. So that's kind of been the approach. That's been the compassion, the suffering with kind of idea.
And while we're not out of the woods by any stretch, come the end of the week, Sunday, we'd gone for a walk and we came home and I saw all of the girls, including a friend, sitting out baking in the sun. There wasn't a screen in sight.
But when you say baking, it was 17 degrees. It was freezing. But they were enjoying being outdoors on the grass.
Because it was too cold to be anywhere else.
Feeling some sunlight on their skin.
And the difference that I witnessed in that moment as these girls just reveled in each other's company was absolutely...
It was heaven.
Yeah, but it was counter to anything I think we've experienced.
There's been more laughter in our home as we've been increasingly screen-free than I can remember in, I was going to say days, weeks, months, but maybe even years.
The level of connection. And here's the challenge. When we're in it, we actually don't recognize and see that the very thing we want, we're actually hindering by this tiny little screen that's with us 24/7 and is just constantly begging for our time and attention. We don't see the other people in our space who are begging for our time and attention.
So the take-home message is, it's not so much what you do, it's how you do it. And if you can do it with compassion, if you can step into suffering and suffer together, you just get better outcomes. I guess the second take-home message is that sometimes as a parent, you do know better. And contrary to all of the very best ideas that are out there, sometimes you do just have to step up and say, we're gonna wear this. It's going to be some stormy weather for a few days, but if we can do it the right way, we will get through this and we'll be better for it.
And I think the most important thing is when we're making these tough decisions, kind of having that emotional barometer that says, am I coming from a place of love? Do I have compassion in this moment? Because if you can feel those two emotions in the very act of doing what you need to do without anger, without, kind of the intensity of all of those negative and challenging emotions, then you can almost certainly guarantee that your delivery is going to be a totally different experience for both of you.
Parenting is such an adventure. We really hope that there's some helpful ideas in today's podcast for you. We also thank our daughter for allowing us, with permission, the opportunity to share this element of what's been going on, because it's a bit of an invasion of privacy for her, but we just felt that there was so much in what we've been experiencing that we wanted to share it. We hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend with your family. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. More information and resources to make your family happier can be found at happyfamilies.com.au. And remember, not this Monday, but next Monday, Parental Guidance, Season 3 on 9.